Good morning, Flagler. We are here with Anna Maria Long, the Executive Director of the Home Builders Association, and Neftali De Jesus, who is one of the owners of 1621 Building. Thank you guys so much for sitting down with me today. It's really fun to talk about. Well, it's not fun, but it's really interesting to talk about the importance of hiring local companies that are state licensed and insured and bonded. And I want to start with, there's been a company in Flagler County, one in particular. I know that unlicensed contractors are a problem all over the state, and it's a very big problem, but there's one company in particular that has been working here in Palm Coast for years without a state license. So how did he get on your radar?
The same way that a lot of companies get on our radar, and honestly, through the power of social media, people advertise on there. It's a free way to advertise, and they assume that they're staying under the radar. And there's some real telltale signs of someone advertising on social media that does not have the proper licensing and insurance. So when you're a state licensed contractor, you're bound by, and there's local licensing as well. So when you're a licensed and insured contractor, you're bound by certain responsibilities. And the main one is to always have your license number listed in any advertisement that you do. So that means if you're advertising on social media, on a print ad, on your own vehicle, on a business card, your license number needs to be on there. So whenever I'm scrolling social media, as a millennial does, and I'm seeing a post of someone recommending, etc., and there's no license number, or they're posting a business card and there's no license number, alerts going off right away. When someone's saying I can do it cheaper, alerts going off right away. And then the question is, why do I care? Why do you care? Let it go. It's not your business. It's not your problem. Well, if I don't care, who's going to care? Who's going to protect Mrs. Jones on the street who doesn't know any better? There's so many risks that a homeowner takes when they're hiring an unlicensed contractor and uninsured contractor. The term unlicensed contractor is actually, I'm trying to break myself saying it because it's inaccurate. We don't call a person practicing medicine without a license an unlicensed doctor. We call them quacks. We call them criminals. If someone performed a surgery on me and they were not a medical doctor, they would go to jail. They would be that's a major criminal offense. So how is an unlicensed person doing state licensed work in a home any different?
So what have you done to try to stop this company from continuing to operate without a license?
Sure. So I have absolutely reported them to the proper regulatory boards, which include the local licensing boards in the city and the county, and the Department of Business and Professional Regulations, so that they could go about their ways to try to stop them, which includes fines and potentially, through investigations, they could potentially take further action through the state's attorney's office. That is out of my hands. The Home Builders Association is not a regulatory board. That's no secret. We are, part of our purpose is to protect homeowners and to educate homeowners and guide them to know what to look for in a contractor and a licensed contractor and how to hire and protect themselves.
So how has that whole process gone? Has there been any progress with this business in getting them to stop?
I've experienced retaliation, unfortunately, from the business, and that has been very negative. And I believe that will lead to the DBPR refining their process and offering some protections the same way that a police department would offer protections to a victim or to someone as a whistleblower. And I'll be continuing to work with the GDPR on that. And that's unfortunate, truly, as a fellow, as an industry professional trying to do the right thing and do my job. That was difficult. You know, I've lived here for over 30 years. I'm a mother of 3, and, you know, my husband and I are sitting at home going, it's night to night. Well, Florida has a very open public records law, and that can be difficult to deal with when you're the one trying to solve something. To my understanding, there has been some repercussions for this individual, and I think eventually it will deter him, but the most important thing that I can do is to educate homeowners and make them understand what the importance is in not hiring not just this one person, but any unlicensed contractor, because let me be so clear. This person is not the only one out there, and he is not special to me. He's not the only person I've reported. He's not the only person that's been reported. He's just the only one that's retaliated on me.
Okay. So having talked about an instance of this happening in Flagler County, and you mentioned risks. So what are some of the bigger issues that a resident can experience if they're hiring someone to do work in their home that isn't licensed by the state? What are some of the fallbacks that a resident could potentially experience from them?
Well, the fallbacks are potentially endless, even to the point of them losing their homes. So when you have a licensed and insured contractor, they have protections. If you hire an unlicensed contractor and they go on your roof, they fall off of your roof, they get hurt, you can get sued, you can lose your home, you can lose all your life savings, and you are also committing a crime by aiding and abetting an unlicensed contractor. So not only could you financially get in trouble, but you can actually legally get in trouble. And it's just not worth it. A lot of the protections that homeowners have, when you hire a licensed contractor, there are state regulations on who's even able to become a licensed contractor. One, you have to have experience. One, you have to have a proven track record of experience that you can actually physically show to the state. The state reviews it. They background check you. They all these things. But that's also the third thing is they background check you. If you have felonies, if you have certain misdemeanors, violent crimes, financial crimes, these types of things, you can't become a licensed contractor. So when you hire someone unlicensed, you don't know who you're inviting into your home. Especially when you work at home, 90% of the time, at least in my experience, I deal with the wives. So they're home by themselves. What if they're by themselves with a criminal? You know what I mean? What's the protections that these people have? It's horrible. And you can lose your home, you can lose your business, you can lose your freedom. There's a lot of risks that homeowners can have.
And some people might think, oh, those are so extreme. Those are very rare instances. So just to give you an example of something a little more minor, let's say you hire someone to add an electrical outlet in your home who's not a licensed electrician. They don't do any type of permitting because they can't because they're not licensed. And they have that in there. Later down the line, however many years, some type of fire, electrical, anything occurs in your home. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover it because that was not permitted. It was not done by a licensed contractor. So that's a little known fact, in my opinion. I don't think everyone's really familiar with that. But if the work was not done by a licensed contractor and the work was not done permitted, your homeowner's insurance will not be covering it. Now the caveat is if you are a homeowner, because I've seen this recently on social media too, and saying, well, you're trying to stop homeowners from working on their own home. A homeowner can work on their own home. There's your caveat. However, if it is work that requires a permit, you do still need to get a permit through your municipality. And if you're not sure what work is required to have a permit, definitely check with your municipality. And that means if you live in the city of Palm Coast, check with them. If you live in Flagler County, check with them. If you're watching from somewhere else, check with them. And they'll tell you if it needs a permit or not. The permit fees are pretty negligible in terms of the risk that you'd be taking otherwise, considering it's a total loss on your home because your homeowner's insurance didn't cover it. So do that, and then you can get it inspected. okay, why do I need government interference in inspecting it? Okay, I get it, small government. However, think about it in terms of, again, getting your homeowner's insurance to cover it. And B, do you really want, like, your neighbor that you don't know having done electrical work in their house and then not having it inspected, and then potentially they start a fire and it goes pops right over to your house? That's how I think about it. I remember, like, living in dorms in college, and we weren't allowed to have candles. I was a resident assistant too. And at first, when I was a resident, I didn't really understand. I'm like, why can't I have a candle? Like, I'll turn it off. But then I remembered there's always a rule for a reason. And then I looked around and I saw some of the people living on my floor, and I was like, they're the reasons we can't have candles. They're the reasons. That guy down the street, he has, or down the hall, he has a candle. I'm done. I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm never waking up.
So how big of a problem is the whole unlicensed contractor issue in Flagler County?
Impossible to track, but from what I see online, I think it is quite large. Unfortunately, we typically don't know about it until it's a problem. The worst times for unlicensed activity are going to be after major events, like after storms. That's typically when we see, and that's going to be for across the state. So anytime we have storm activity or hurricane, tropical storm come through, especially something that causes roof damage, that's when we see an influx of unlicensed activity coming in. And that could be completely, incompetent people doing the work, or people who are, to Tally's point, unable to attain licensing because of their inexperience, criminal records, etc. Or it could also be people who are, for lack of a better term, storm chasers. They're like the ambulance chasers in the construction industry. Like, oh, a hurricane came. Let me drive to Florida. And then they just don't have the proper licensing for the state of Florida. And then they come down here and are attempting to do work, but they don't have proper licensing, and that's problematic because the state of Florida does not have the same building code as the rest of the country. So we have the Florida Building Code, and the rest of the country has the ICC. And the Florida Building Code, most people will tell you, is superior because we have to withstand higher wind strengths due to the tropical nature of our storms. But to that point, we also do not need to carry wind load or snow loads. That would be very silly if we needed to have roofs that could hold.
I could go for a white Christmas. I'm okay with it.
I mean, you could, but think about the added cost to homeownership if we had to have a roof that could not only hold several feet of snow, but could also withstand
130 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, like I don't even know what that would look like, but it would be a massive roof. So our building code's different, and that's important to know as well for the contractors to be familiar with.
Well, there's something else with those storm chasers too. I've heard of stories where these contractors coming from other states, they'll come in, they'll sign a contract to you, they'll take a 50% deposit, and then you'll never hear from them again. They're like, "Oh, sign right away. We'll save you this money. You give them this check, they're gone."
And that was also recently dealt with legislation. I believe it was 2 sessions ago in the state legislation with the tort reform, and that we're going to eventually see a change difference in our homeownership rates. But truly, some of that is the reason for our homeownership rates being so exorbitant. Is when you sign over your benefits to the contractor.
It's the word.
I can't think of it.
And I know it falls under like insurance fraud
It's
in a form.
Yeah, you basically, when you sign over your
Oh my gosh, I can't remember the word right now.
when you sign,
Oh, you're attorney. You'll know.
When you sign over that insurance
Yeah,
check over to them.
yes, you're signing over the ability for them to act on your behalf, essentially.
You're essentially giving a power of attorney.
To your contractor, and there was a lot of issues with that. There was also change in the legislation with how long you have to go back and file suit, There's several different aspects to that legislation. And all of that will see an improvement. The hard part for us to swallow as residents of Florida is that it's going to take some time before we see it. But we have started to see less astronomical. The fact that I have to use the word less astronomical increases in homeowners insurance this year, which is a step in the right direction. And it's telling us that sort of reform bill is doing well. But that insurance rates is one of the things that is deeply affected by unlicensed activity.
Okay. So in the state of Florida, handymen don't have to have a license from the state in order to do work. And a lot of people question, well, why can't I just have a handyman do it? They're cheaper. Can you kind of maybe explain the difference between handyman versus state licensed and bonded general contractor?
Well, it's actually interesting. So handymen don't need a state license, but the city of Palm Coast and I believe Flagler County requires a handyman license. So they have to go.
It's not called a handyman license. It's a class 2.
It's a class 2 license, yep. So even though the state itself doesn't regulate, our local municipalities and our county government do regulate that.
And that varies throughout the state. So depending on which municipality you live in, you're going to potentially have a different licensing requirement for different types of work, no matter where you live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we are anticipating change to that based on some legislation that passed 2 years ago, but because the state is going to be taking over some of that licensing, and the state needs some time to implement it. It looks like it's going to be 2025 before that happens. Maybe 2026, we'll see. They push it again.
2025 isn't that far away.
Exactly
We're
why I
getting
said
close.
maybe 2026, because they may need to push it, because it's going to be an adoption process. But having it all done through the state will create a lot less confusion, because it will be, for one, it'll create, so consider, if you're a garage door company, that requires a license. And if you're a garage door company and you're based in Flagler County, it's completely reasonable to believe that you're doing work in Flagler, Palm Coast for now. All the municipalities within Volusia County, all the municipalities within St. Johns County, maybe also Putnam. That's easily 20 different licenses to keep up.
Yeah.
That are all going to expire and renew at different times. They're all going to have different requirements, different fees. It might be nice to just do one with the state. So it'll create some easy flow, and then it'll be great for residents or citizens to just be able to check that one license online at myfloridalicense.com.
Okay.
And see, yep, definitely licensed, and this is a legitimate company, good to go.
And can you kind of elaborate on what the different services that can be offered by both a handyman versus a general contractor like yourself?
Yeah, so a general contractor, we can handle anything, structural, foundational, top to bottom, from the dirt all the way up, we can handle it. Handyman can pretty much, I don't work in that field as much, but what they can pretty much handle is anything surface. If you have a little bit of painting, if you have a little drywall patch, some small little things they can do. Anytime it's past a certain, I believe Palm Coast, anything over $2,500 requires a permit. Well, if you need a permit and certain things, like you need to hire a general contractor. And anytime it gets over a couple $100 of work, or maybe or something over a certain value, you really need to hire a general contractor to make sure the people you're bringing are legit. You're not going to lose your money. That's my rule of thumb on it. But pretty much just easy surface level things is what handyman can do.
So anything beyond the surface is something that you generally need a state
The
license.
moment you touch HVAC, plumbing, electrical, anything structural, you need to have a license.
Yeah, I'm sure plenty of people have seen handymen advertise that they can do kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels.
No. they cannot.
Not legally.
Not legally.
And not under their insurance will not cover it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
so class 2 license, which would be a license that you need from Flagler County. This is specific to Flagler County. So Flagler County does do the licensing for compost as well. Yes, I have to pull this up to be sure. They can do demolition, drywall, glass and glazing, irrigation, sprinkler, marine contractor, and specialty structure. Anything that's class 1, this is going to be things that require a state license. Now, Flagler County does offer some local licensing on these. General contractor, building contractor, residential contractor, roofing contractor, swimming pool, spa, residential, master plumber, master electrician, master AC, master sheet metal, master mechanical, underground utility and excavation.
So there's a big difference in what they can do.
Yeah.
Anytime plumbing and electrical are involved, you need a state license. Absolutely need a state license.
And not every, you don't always need a general contractor. You can hire an electrical contractor that's licensed and insured. If it's just electrical, they can do it. If it's just plumbing, the plumbers can do it. If it's just HVAC, same thing. And there's even protections. I'm a general contractor. I have a license that kind of can cover everything, but I still can't do electrical myself. I still can't do plumbing myself. Even with my license and my experience and all my years, I even use licensed electricians, plumbers, HVAC people, all these different things, because that's what they specifically do, and they're licensed and trained and bonded for those specific things. So even with a GC, they're using proper people.
And it's his responsibility when pulling a permit that he has to even tell the municipality who his subs are specifically on those trades that he just listed, and list out their license number and all of their things, including project approval numbers and things like that when it comes to windows, etc. And like on new construction or remodel that involves windows. So everything is highly regulated.
Absolutely.
And it's highly regulated for the residence protection.
Okay. So with all of that being said, how can residents make sure that they're hiring the properly licensed and insured businesses and individuals that they're looking to do work for? What are some of the different things they can look for? Are there, red flags that you can let people know, hey, this is a sign. If you see this, you should, back away.
You should always ask. Ask 2 things. Any licensed contractor should not be shy. You're going to ask them for 2 things. You're going to ask them for their license number. You're going to ask them for their insurance. And if they do not want to produce them, walk away. And then you're going to verify both of those. So you're going to say, what is your license number? And if it's a state license number, you'll be able to go to myfloridalicense.com. It's through the Department of Business and Professional Regulations, and you can search up their license number right on there. If you have any difficulty doing that, you can call the Flagler Home Builders Association, 443-445-9399. We can walk you through it. The DBPR is not easy to get a hold of on the phone, but their website is quite friendly, and then they have an app as well. You want to show them the...
So this is something too. Every time I go to a job site, I always have my bag. So I'm having to take measurements, taking pictures. But I carry 2 copies of my license. One, I carry an actual card with my license. And I actually have the physical full certificate laminated in my bag. So the moment I walk in, I give them my business card. I show them my license. I typically give them the big copy because I don't want to pull out my wallet every time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is what if you come to a contractor that's not reputable, they're going to hide these. You want to know my insurance? We can send it to you the same day. I don't walk around with my insurance copy, but we can send it to you the same day. I show them my license while I'm on the job site. Like it's just being transparent is key. If you got nothing to hide, it's not going to be a problem. But it's super easy to check. Just DBPR. Just Google it.
Yep. And I've talked to DBPR, and I'm hoping they'll roll it out. I've asked them to. My suggestion to them was to do a QR code that licensed contractors can put on their vehicles that says "Ask me for my license," and it'll take them right to their license, the license search feature on the DBPR website. Because exactly, we're not hiding. Licensed contractors are not hiding anything. And then
we're proud of it.
Yeah, right. Like
on the side of my truck, it says licensed and insured, and it has my license number on my truck, on all my business cards. Everything advertising wise must, as a licensed contractor, everything advertising must have the license on it. There's no way around it.
You can get fined just for not having it on there.
And I don't like paying, like, it's expensive enough to run it, but I don't want to be fined for not putting my license number, what I don't.
So simple, yeah. So if you are a licensed contractor and you're hearing this and you're realizing, oh gosh, I didn't put my license number on something, get rid of it, reprint it with your license number. And this goes for any advertisement that you put out, even if it's just on social media. In fact, when Tally, our Creative 1621 and you're doing your logo, remember I told you, put your license number in your logo so that you never forget it to have it, to add it in there. So create your JPEG image to have the license number in it because it's so easy to forget to add it in. Now for insurance, that's the other thing. Ask for their insurance. Don't be shy. Do not be shy about asking. If they don't want to give it to you, then maybe they don't have it. It's a really quick, they either have the copy on hand and on their computer they can send to you. The COIs are a certificate of insurance, typically good for a year. So they can send it over to you showing that they have proper insurance. It'll show what their coverage limits are. If they don't have it on hand for some reason, then their agent can usually get it to them within same business day. I mean, agents are super fast about that. So you're not inconveniencing them if they make you feel like they're being inconvenienced. Move on.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we talked about some of the differences between handyman and general contractors, but can you explain a little bit of what goes into you being able to have and keep your general contractor's license? Just so that people understand the level of difference between someone with a class 2 from Flagler County versus what you have to do and all of the hoops you have to jump through to hold your license.
So with my license, I have to have so many years of experience. I have to have so many specific types of structures that I've built. I have to have so much concrete work that I've done, so much new build, commercial structures. Because when you're a GC, I think. So it's so complicated that I actually hired a company to help me fill out all the paperwork because it is very complicated. Now, my submission was like 97 pages for my license. So it was huge. But I had to build a structure over 3 stories, which was really hard because I'm from Texas. You don't build anything over 3 stories in Texas, but I had, so there's a lot of different regulations where I've had to build so many homes. They called people I did work for before. They called all kinds of people, and it was hard. And on top of it, there's 3 tests that you have to take. One test is 10 hours. The 2 other tests are 8-hour tests. They are extremely difficult, and they cover I can't remember how many books. It's like 12 or 13 books of knowledge that you have to have in your head, and to take this test. I mean, that's 26 hours of testing that I've had to do to even prove, not only am I proving my work experience, and not only am I giving all my references for all my happy customers, but also I'm having to prove my knowledge base, which 26 hours of testing is a lot of, so, and if you don't pass it, you don't pass it. That's it. They don't give you grades.
A lot of that testing is based on business management and financial practices. So the experience shows the ability to build, right? But being a GC is so business oriented as well. And yes, you're trusting a GC with large amounts of money and managing the ins and outs of a job, which includes draws and getting bids and making sure that you're being fiscally responsible with another person's money and with your own company's money. So a lot of that is very financially intensive.
And that your GC is paying their subs also.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big thing. And
I'm
blessed. I have amazing subcontractors. And that's a big thing too. When you hire a general contractor, it's a relationship. It's not just an individual business, because that GC has relationships with their plumbers, with their HVAC guys, with electricians, with their tile people, with their suppliers, with their cabinet installers. We have relationships with all these people, and if we don't have good relationships, the homeowner won't succeed. So it's also a relational thing where all of us need to succeed together.
Okay. My last question is, Do you have any ideas or things or plans that you'd like to, bring to Flagler County or even to the DVPR on how they can start cracking down on some of these unlicensed or uninsured contractors, handymen?
So, I'll try to go from a contractor's perspective. So I'm a contractor, but I'm also a former police officer. And it's a crime in the state of Florida to do unlicensed contracting. It's a crime, right? Which means our law, listen, we have great law enforcement, right? We have really great law enforcement in this area. But some of the problems in law enforcement, from my perspective, is from being a former cop. I was a detective, all those things.
Texas.
In Texas, yeah, not in Florida. I say we, I ain't a cop no more. Cops are overwhelmed. There's a lot of stuff. But we kind of focus on the physical crime. Someone's getting beat up right now. Something's being stolen.
Yeah.
Someone's being murdered. You mean, in the worst case, those things we focus on. But these crimes of unlicensed contracting are long-term crimes, long-term results and struggles these homeowners can deal with that could impact them for the rest of their lives. Their life savings could be gone. So I think local law enforcement working with the Flagler County Construction Review Board, working with the city of Palm Coast, they have the chief building inspector. He's actually a former cop too. Amazing guy. Code enforcement, yeah. He's an amazing guy. Am I allowed to say his name? Yeah, I'm talking good about him. So it's Luis Menendez. He's a former cop. That guy has knowledge and experience, and he's passionate. That guy is passionate about stopping unlicensed contracting. Essentially, what we need to do in this area is take our gloves off, let him do his job, let the county do their job, and let them work with law enforcement and our local prosecutors to handle this. They can. We have great people in the county, city level. We just need to let them do their job, but we just need to also support them.
So from the Home Builders Association standpoint, we're going to bring everyone to the table together. We're going to stop everyone from being allowed to pass the buck. It's going to be really hard to pass the buck when everyone's sitting at the table together facing each other. The fact that we faced retaliation for doing what's right, the fact that I faced retaliation for doing my job, is deeply unsettling, and then was offered zero protection for it is deeply unsettling. And we need the state attorney's office to participate, and we need the sheriff's office full involvement, and I don't doubt that we'll get that at all. And then, the Contractors Review Board is, we know they want to. They're also, everyone is bound individually. Individually, working in silos, everyone's only capable of so much. When we get everyone at the same table, and when we make the public part of the solution, which is what I hope that this conversation does. We make the public part of the solution for us. Make the public realize, hey, it's not okay. We're not just helping someone make a buck by allowing them to do this. You're putting yourself, your neighbors, your friends at risk by allowing this to occur. Are you really okay with that?
Thank you two so much for sitting down and talking with me. It was very educational. I look forward to having future conversations with both of you. Thank you guys for watching. You can find this video on our Facebook page, YouTube, and on our website.